Before any king wore a crown or any map drew a border, Allah was already sculpting the body of the earth. He pressed his will into mankind, and they called it Congo, a land so deep it seemed to breathe from the inside out. Long before humans dreamed, the ground that would become Africa's center lay beneath molten skies. Continents collided, cooled, and cracked until the Congo Craton, that ancient slab of Earth's crust, stopped moving. It became a heart of iron and granite, immovable, patient, and watchful, holding its silence as the ages passed. The rivers formed veins through that heart. Rain fell for centuries, carving gentle valleys until water finally found its way to the Atlantic. The Congo River, wide as a sea, began its endless journey, carrying red soil, fish, seeds, and memory. It was as if Allah Himself drew a line through the continent saying, "Here I will store life, here I will plant renewal, here I will teach the world endurance." When ice ages came, the earth shivered. Elsewhere, forests withered beneath frost, but not here. The Congo basin folded its trees inward like a mother shielding her child. Life hid and waited, breathing softly in the dark. Then the sun returned. The forest reopened. Trees stretched their green arms toward heaven. Orchids bloomed in mist. Rain drummed like heartbeat upon endless leaves. Allah turned this basin into one of His greatest signs, a garden that renews itself after hardship. Under every step, ancient peat sleeps, black, silent, storing the breath of 10,000 generations. The world calls it carbon, but in truth it is testimony, proof that creation remembers, even when mankind forgets. The air itself feels alive here. Mist rises like prayer. The thunder sounds like remembrance of the Creator. Lightning flashes like divine reminder. Every storm seems to whisper that Allah's mercy can flood even the densest jungle. Before mankind ever set foot upon this land, Allah had already filled it with His signs. He spread creatures across the forests and rivers, each one living by His command, each one a verse of His mercy. They grazed, climbed, called, and gathered, not out of their own design, but through the balance Allah placed in all creation. In their calm and cooperation, one could glimpse a reflection of the rahmah, mercy, Allah later commanded for humankind. Every living thing in that forest was preparing the stage, showing what harmony looks like before the arrival of the one species Allah would honor with intellect and choice. So when people finally came, they entered a land already alive with remembrance, a place where the trees had long whispered of Allah's greatness, and the rivers had already learned to flow in obedience to their Lord. Every bird's call was echoing through canopies older than history. Every sunrise was a sermon on patience. Every sunset was a soft reminder that creation never sleeps in its praise. Then, as if called by the pulse of the river, the first people came. They carved tools from stone, shaped wood into handles, and marked bones with numbers. On the shores of Lake Edward and along the Semliki, someone once scratched lines into a bone now called Ishango, marks that counted moons, harvests, or perhaps prayers whispered into bone. They didn't write verses, but their math was remembrance. A human trying to measure divine rhythm, a quiet attempt to understand time as Allah unfolds it. For tens of thousands of years, people walked beneath that canopy. They learned to burn clearings for gardens, to fish by torchlight, to drum messages across the water. Each sound was both labor and worship, a language between man and the land that fed him. They built no temples of stone, yet they lived among Allah's signs. The forest reminded them of His greatness. The rain reminded them of His mercy. When thunder rolled, they felt awe. When wind passed, they felt His presence. They lived within the order Allah had already set, even before guidance was revealed. Then Allah unfolded a new chapter. From the highlands of what is now Cameroon, the Bantu peoples began to move, slowly, like roots spreading through soil. They didn't conquer, they carried language. With every step they planted words, names for rivers, trees, stars, and children. Their tongues became bridges, turning strangers into kin. Wherever they went, crops followed: millet, banana, yam. Iron tools glowed like dawn in the hands of farmers, shaping the earth with purpose and gratitude. As the Bantu spread across Central and Southern Africa, the forest became their library. They listened to the earth, learned its moods, and shaped societies that valued kinship, music, and justice. Around their fires, they spoke of patience and reciprocity, that one cannot eat alone when another is hungry, and that every seed sown must be shared with heaven through prayer. Allah had written into their movement a silent purpose: to prepare the land for civilization, to test how mankind would live amid abundance without arrogance. By the time the 1300s came, the continent was humming with a new rhythm. The Bantu descendants along the Atlantic coast joined villages into provinces, provinces into realms. Trade routes cut through forests like veins of light. Drums carried news farther than any. In the west, the kingdom of Congo was born, a living mirror of balance between heaven and earth.